Oh, you want us to start now? Okay, guys.
Good morning. Address the laugh. Okay. Good morning, guys. This is the Barbell Calling Podcast. This is I'm JD. This is Josh. And again, we're going to be talking about the benefits of strength training. And we're gonna divvy it up into a couple couple sections to kind of keep things concise. But so yeah, why strength train? What's the point of doing it? Well, it's going to be maybe different goals or different benefits by either gender or by age, and also by people who have specific ailments and injuries. So yeah, why don't Josh? Why don't you just
I always,
jump in?
when we talk about benefits of strength training, I always think of my parents. My parents, they're older. My dad's got 76. My mom is 70. And I remember growing up, my dad was always like, "Hey, you know, be careful lifting weights. You're gonna hurt
Oh
you're
yeah,
gonna hurt yourself." And I mean, you can relate to this too. When we were kids, it was always run, 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 run. And then there was a little bit of weightlifting back in like high school. It wasn't a whole bunch of stuff, but it was cardio, cardio, cardio. It was good for the sports. I played
hmm
football and basketball, but
I did theater.
you did a lot of cardio then. No. But I always think back to this and cardio. And I was just like, my parents were just like, "Oh, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to hurt yourself." And I was like, man, like, okay. And I kept thinking about like all the cardio I did. I was like, I want to be lean, I want to be buff, all this other stuff. And it never panned out that way. But then when I started lifting weights all the time, I got the aesthetics, I got the cardio I needed. I had everything I needed for that. And now fast forward to now, I have finally convinced my parents to do this, both of which my dad's diabetic, had a heart attack. Both parents had both knees replaced. You name it. I mean, they are the stereotypical, like we're talking about age, gender issues as far as joint replacements, things like that. And it's the one thing that keeps them going every day. They only work out twice a week. They lift weights twice a week. That's all they do. And it helps them so much because for my mom, for instance, it's increased in bone density.
Yep.
So she has osteoporosis. She's now osteopenic and hasn't changed anything. On top of that, had both her knees replaced. She back in the gym, she's squatting, she's deadlifting. I mean, there are some modifications that we've had to make, but they're doing it. Dad, cardiovascular issues. My dad's overweight. There's cardiovascular issues. He actually ended up he started lifting weights a year before he had a heart attack and had to have quadruple bypass. And now he's back in the gym. He's back in the gym. He's doing it. And he's cardiologist didn't say anything bad. Is after he had his knees replaced, their docs, everybody's like, "This is great. Keep doing it," because the benefits of strength training, especially with what we do, you know, it's increased muscle mass, increased bone density. We're going to talk about this later. Increased metabolism,
Yep. There's a
uh,
whole episode on that.
and it helps with every aspect of what you're gonna actually do. No matter if you're male, female, young, old, doesn't matter.
So before uh, I want to get into some specifics, but before getting into specifics, let me sum up some of what you're talking about, because in the end, the best strength training makes you stronger. All right, let's just that's as simply put it. Yeah, it's as simple as you can put it. And even more simply, stronger is better, right? As if you are stronger, you are more capable. If you're better able to do the things that you want to do throughout the day. You don't have to worry about being injured. You don't have to, and when you do get injured, when something happens, you are able to recover better, or you are therefore, by as a result, more resilient, right? So you're better able to operate in your environment. And that sounds maybe kind of an abstract way to say this. So let's get into some of the details, right? So for age, somewhere around, and this is, I don't have a study for this. It's just more stating what I've observed. But somewhere in our 30s, there is a decline that people will notice. Now maybe it's because that you've already got a couple car payments, and you've got a mortgage, and by this time the kids are rolling around, and work's getting more intense. For whatever reason, there is a physical decline that starts, or that you at least notice in your mid to late 30s, right? And then from there, quite frankly, what we see is it's a long, slow slide into oblivion, right? You're aging, and the only way to you can never completely reverse that downward trajectory. You can just fight to keep it less and less negative, right? So what you need to do is there needs to be some sort of a stimulus that your body responds to, that's strong enough to cause this downward trajectory to kick up a little bit, right? But it's something that you can recover from, right? So that's when we take up pickleball, and we take up running, and we take up all these things, which are great. They are great from a cardiovascular perspective. They're great from a better than sitting on the couch. But quickly we come into the situation where it's just not enough, and that's where strength training comes in. Strength training allows you to load human movements to a point where the body is forced to respond and get better. So as you age, what that means is now the 65-year-old grandmother is much more capable of getting on the floor and playing with the grandkids, and then getting back up off the floor without an issue. How many people have you seen that can get up out of a chair without having to use their hands and do this whole thing? How many of our members have talked about being able to just do the things in everyday life that they weren't able to do, right? Like, we've had one member, Anna, who was traveling, and she had a big heavy suitcase, and somebody was looking at her and said, "Hey, let me get that suitcase for you." And then she just reaches down, picks it up, and puts it up in the bin. And the guy's like, well, they get so surprised that she's able to do it, because she's much more capable now than when she first started training.
Yeah. And then that goes to, I mean, we've got other clients that are younger that have sat there and been like, hey, my husband and I rearranged all the furniture in the house. Didn't have to call up a buddy, didn't have to call up movers, anybody like that. They were able to do those things. The other, I think, major.
I'm going to interrupt you. What's that? There's a bunch of memes or reels going around on Instagram about how never has a husband had more faith in his wife whenever he needs to move something, right? So he calls his wife over, and it's heavy as hell, but he's got all this faith in her, and she doesn't know if she can do it. But
Yep.
if you're stronger like that, that's just not a question.
Yeah, it's absolutely not a question. We see that all the time. I mean, hell, both of our wives are very capable, and they can do all this stuff. And hell, I think last time I moved, I didn't have to call anybody. Thankfully, I do have friends like yourself and others that do help on that. But both of our wives are very capable. Hell, I think my mom moved her dryer by herself. I'm like, Jesus, Mom. She ended up tweaking her back on the thing, but hey, that's another story. That's
so for age, right? My grandfather fell and broke his hip at roughly 80 years old, and within 2 weeks he caught pneumonia in the hospital and died.
Yep.
Right, and my aunt, who was a nurse, called it. Right, she said, "Hey, this is what happened. When you need to get over here, you need to see your grandfather, because this is more likely what's going to happen." It was a much more tearful statement from her, but because she had, being a nurse, and this is something that she's seen over and over again. Well, if you're stronger as you're older, we're talking about the benefits by age. If you're stronger as you're older, well, you're going to trip, but now you're strong enough. Maybe when you do fall, you do hit the floor, you don't break a hip. You're bruised, fine, but now you're stronger. You're also able to recover from that upset, or maybe even more ideally, you trip, you stumble, and you don't fall because you're strong enough to catch yourself. Right. I mean, you're just more resilient to these things that are inevitably going to happen as you go through life.
And that's, I mean, the big thing that a lot of people don't understand. And I mean, like, I've worked with physical therapists in the past. I was in that industry. And one of the things that it never clicked with me was like, why are they having you stand on an unstable surface and like catching a ball? Why are you on an unstable surface anyways? You have balance issues. Like, this is not helping the situation, right?
Functional fitness, bro.
Right. And what we've noticed is if you get somebody stronger, get somebody putting, let's just say 40,
pounds.
I wouldn't even say
50
that,
pounds.
50 pounds on your back, and having you squat down and stand back up, it's amazing.
Just by
You didn't
virtue of
fall
not
over.
just by virtue of not falling down, you've
You,
trained all the little muscles
yep.
that you use to
Your
stabilize.
balance has improved,
Absolutely.
and that's the biggest thing. Some of our older clients that we have come to us because of balance issues. And we're
Mhm.
talking mid to late 70s. And they're like, look, man, like I don't like being around small animals. I don't like being around small kids because they get underneath your feet and they force you to trip and fall. So now being stronger, they don't have that problem.
And we're talking about age too, right? You have you've got the big O, which unfortunately not the big O that everybody prefers, but osteoporosis, right? How many 65, 70-year-old 70 to 75-year-old women come in because their doctor because they've been diagnosed osteoporotic, and the solution that their doctor has given them is some sort of medication.
Yep.
Right? We see it over and over and over again. And that lady is not interested in squatting because she's training for the combine. She doesn't even really want to squat, God bless her. And I don't blame her. But she understands that as you train, muscles are going to get stronger, right? Your connective tissue is going to get more resilient, and your bones are going to soak up calcium. And she will eventually if she's consistent in her diets and her diets right, she will reverse that diagnosis. And we see it over and over and over again. In fact, there's a YouTube video with one of our members who's in her early 40s, I believe, who I'm going to mess this up, but she had a significant increase in her bone density, which is going to carry her well into as she ages. But again, we're talking about resiliency and improved capability.
And that osteoporosis is a huge thing, especially dealing with women. And I would say we're seeing it earlier and earlier. It's not late into the mid 60s and so on. It's earlier and earlier. 30s. I think Shelly had a client in college that 20s that
Really?
osteopenic, and they did oh god, I think it was a 9-week study.
She needs some milk.
Didn't even have milk. 9-week study,
Yeah.
just squatting, was now normal bone density.
There you go.
I mean, so it happens
We see
very,
it.
very
We see
quickly.
it over and over and over
Very,
again,
very
almost to the
quickly.
point where we can bet a membership on it. Right. All right. So let's move on.
Yep.
Benefits of strength training by age, or not by age, by gender. Excuse me. Um, I think it's easy for guys to understand why they need to be strong. Right. A lot of guys will say, we'll want the aesthetics. One of the reasons the reason why that I started is I've got three beautiful daughters that look like their mother, and I thought one day these girls are going to bring home some star running back from the high school football team, and hell, I need to scare this kid, right? Make sure that he that I have a way to keep these kids in check. And being bigger and stronger, there's an appearance that comes with it, right? So I think it's an easier sell for guys. But let's talk about women need to be stronger. We address the osteoporosis aspect of it, but it goes even beyond that. And we're really going to dip into the subjects from other podcasts here. But let's talk about women. What do we see when women train?
Oh God, where do we start? Confidence. I would start with confidence right off the bat.
Mhm.
We've got a girl in here right now. She's 12 years old, kind of shy, reserved,
Mhm.
and she's been with us now 3 months. I think going on 3 months.
If not longer. It was the beginning of summer, wasn't it? Or was it the end of summer? Anyways, it's been a while. It's been a little while.
But
And she's an artist.
she's an archery, and her confidence level as she comes in, she's not like kind of like hunched over, kind of trying to be in the shadows, if you will. Yeah, none of that happens. It's now she's coming in, she's cracking up with everybody, she's having a good time, she's not afraid to sit there and put extra weight on the bar. She's making huge progress, and like everyone she sees, like her archery coach,
Yep. She's getting feedback.
she's getting feedback on it from everybody that she is becoming more confident. But we see this also with older women as well, that they get their sense of independence back. They don't need somebody else to help them do everyday tasks.
That someone can open the pickle jar for you.
That's right. I mean, it sounds silly, but hey, you still need somebody for it, right? But yeah, that's probably one of the huge things that sticks out to me besides osteoporosis, that the confidence builder there,
Yeah.
man, it's huge.
Women from the very beginning are faced with a requirement to look a certain way, right?
Mhm.
And that often comes with, well, I'm gonna. So it's a perpetual diet. The women are on a perpetual diet. A lot of them, most of them, are underfed, which is a lot of times how the osteopenia happens, is because they're just essentially underfed and understimulated. But what do we see when a woman comes in? What do we look for progress, right? We look to see the weight on the bar going up, and one of the things that will naturally happen as you get stronger and it's more so with men, but I'm gonna speak into it with women, is we look for weight on the scale to go up. Now, for men, man will put on a significant amount of muscle, and that scale will well, for women, we don't like to focus on the scale, although she may put on a pound or 2 or 5, right? 10 if she's really, really underweight. And it doesn't happen fast, it happens over time. But what we do is we have, and that's also, women hearing that is like, well, what the hell what are you talking about? I'm gonna do what? That's not why I'm here. So what we look for, the conversation that we have is how do your clothes fit? Talk to me about that metric. And oftentimes what we find is a woman who's been perpetually dieting. She'll train, but maybe she's a little bit overweight. She'll drop a dress size, but the weight on the scale doesn't change at all,
Doesn't change,
right?
no.
Which is a complete
Just go ahead and say it.
mind fuck. I'm trying not to say it. I'd like to keep it clean. I have a bad habit of swearing too much, but it really throws them for a loop.
Yeah.
Right. So much so that some women will want to sabotage themselves and continue to try to diet. But that's, that aside, if they do it right, weight on the bar will go up, dress size will go down if they're generally overweight. But the weight on the scale will stay about the same, right? And then they keep doing it. Maybe they drop another dress size. And one of the things that we try to communicate is, women do not get bulky unless it is a very, very conscious decision. Is something that you're trying to be a bodybuilder. You're taking certain pharmaceutical supplements in order to make it happen, right? Nod, wink, wink, right? It's not going to happen naturally, right? And so what we see is women will get skinnier where they need to be skinny, and they will get shapely where they should be shapely, right? And the number of female members that we've had is one of the things that we said is like, I noticed my butt's in the right place now, right?
That's the best way to put it.
Right.
But
Yeah, butt moves up to where it should be, right? That's a straight up quote from one of our members at the gym in Houston. And another quote from one of our members in here at Katy is, they'd been missing for a while. They hadn't been training. The life just kind of got in the way, and she got frustrated because, quote unquote, I lost my ass.
Yeah.
Right. I want to get back in there, and the little bit of muscle that she did gain back on, because it went right to where she wanted it to be.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Right. Women, that then leads to the confidence that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I mean, if you look better, you feel better, you're
Mhm.
going to be confident
Mhm.
about yourself. And I think one of the things we'll talk about later, about like, I love the old joke about which one weighs more, a pound of fat or a pound of muscle. It's a pound. They
Yep,
both weigh the
it's
same,
thing.
but
One takes up more space.
that's exactly right. Pound of fat takes up more space than a pound of muscle does.
Yep.
But the back to your thing about like, women not wanting to get bulky. The media has portrayed weightlifting for women as just like, you're gonna be a bodybuilder, and that is the saddest thing in the world, because every single woman I know, every single one of them, they're all lean and attractive, and they're not this big ball of muscle. None of them look like me or you. I mean,
Thank
none
God.
of them. Good God, that'd be terrible. No, but like, you don't see that.
Mhm.
You see very shapely, beautiful figures that's what you want.
Yep.
And that's the results you get when you strength train. every single time. I think one of the things, back to that same comment is like one of the things women come in and say all the time, and it doesn't matter if they're in their 20s or in their 80s. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. They're like, I don't want to get big like you. I'm like, you do not have the amount of testosterone in your body
or the genetic programming.
You're right, to get this big. And this even goes to some men. We've had men come in and sit there and say, I don't want to look like you.
Tall and handsome.
Come on. You'd be better if you did, right? But
we're not cocky at all.
No. But the amount of time and effort we have put into how we look, our performance.
Yeah.
It's years.
Yeah.
It's years. It's hours every single day.
And it's intentional decisions is what it is.
Exactly right. We're not asking that of you, and we're not going to tell you to do that unless that's something you want to do. We are telling you, male, female, old, young, doesn't matter who you are. Your life, the quality of life that you want is going to be better if you are stronger.
Yep. So let's move on to one of the third category, which we see a lot, is we'll just call it issues, right, or ailments and injuries, right? My back hurts, so I therefore shouldn't strength train. I have this shoulder thing, and therefore I shouldn't strength train. So what do we see with that?
Oh my God. Yeah, the back issue is probably the number one thing. This is going to tie into an earlier comment you made about like older people not wanting to squat or deadlift. Look, there are two things you got to do the rest of your life. Two things. You got to squat up, and that's getting off the toilet. Okay.
Yep.
You have to stand up from getting on the shitter. I'm sorry. You just have to. Okay. There are, believe it or not, every year it's a small number, but there is a small number of people that die on the toilet every year. They can't get off of it. They die. Okay. Number two, you're going to have to pick something up off the ground.
You're going to have to bend down to get there.
That's exactly right. Yep. So you're going to have to deadlift. That's exactly what we do. So those two movements that you are afraid of, you're going to do every single day. Why are you afraid of? Well, I'm going to tweak my back. I'm going to hurt my knees, things like that. And if it's done correctly, you're not going to tweak it. You're not going to tweak your back. In fact, what you're going to do is get it stronger to where if you want to bend over and round, stand on one leg to reach into the bottom of the freezer and grab something, you're less likely to injure yourself.
Yeah, you're going to be more resilient.
Exactly right.
Right. But so somebody comes in with a messed up shoulder. They've got a ski injury. This is a specific member that I'm talking about, and this is specific results, and we can tie back to the YouTube video where he talks about this himself in the show notes. So make sure that you take a look at this, right? But specific, member comes in, he's interested in training, he's interested in getting stronger, but he's got this shoulder thing, right? Why should he train?
So if he doesn't train, how old is he, by the way?
Our age, well,
40s, 50s.
40s, yeah.
Okay. So if he does not train,
early 40s.
Okay. If he does not train, there is an issue that will come up that he will have to go to PT for, and it might not ever get resolved. And that's called frozen shoulder. We've seen this happen. We've had clients do this, and they can't raise their arm up about like this. I mean, that's it. If they try to raise it more, it's like, ugh. So this is a legitimate issue that if they keep moving and take the shoulder and the arm through a full range of motion, it will get better. We see this all the time. Now, the other issue, contraindication that people will sit there and be like, well, I need to keep my shoulder blades down. I can't raise my arm up too high. Look, you reach up into the top of your pantry all the time and you shrug up all the time. That opens up that shoulder, gets more blood flow to the muscles that support it. It's going to be better. You're going to have a greater range of motion.
Yeah.
The other thing, and this is going to sum up all of it in general, is motion is lotion. If you sit there and move something that is hurt, injured, stiff, whatever it is, if you move it, blood flow gets to the area, nutrients get there, it feels better, it heals faster.
Yep.
So,
and that's the point right there, right? Why? What's the specific mechanism that's operating here? I don't know. we don't have any sort of the medical proof. What we have is what we call the phenomenology, right? It's a study of what we see over and over and over again, right? So this specific member, he starts training, he's pressing overhead, and then by 3 weeks, he had forgotten that his shoulder was hurt, and because it just no longer hurt. So with reasonable, judicious loading, right? You load the tissues, and little by little, the body begins to heal itself. The body responds to healing whenever the body responds best to healing in response to stress, right? What we see when people come in with back pain, there's a bulging disc, there's stuff going on as we start squatting and rack pulling with reasonable weights. We're not talking about going crazy here, right? With reasonable weights and within a range of motion that is relatively pain free. Little by little, we begin to increase our range of motion and increase the weight. What we see is within 3 to 4 weeks that the back pain is typically gone, right? So we see it over and over and over again. Now, did we resolve the bulging disc get resolved? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's always going to be there,
Yeah.
but you get the tissues around the upset stronger, and the body's able to hold itself in a better position, and things just tend to get better.
Well, the muscle supports the structure.
Right, but it's the same thing. It's very similar to rehab. What do you do when you go to rehab or to PT? You move the thing around
Yep.
with progressively increasing loads. Right, they start off very very small. Right, and you're doing type isolation type exercises. However, but the point of that is that you're moving the tissues under some sort of resistance. It's the similar concept here, right? So
Well, the main issue to close this all out is, can you train with
absolutely,
issues, or can you come in here with any kind of issues?
absolutely, you do not have to get
99% of the time, yes. There are certain indications which, if you come to us, we'll find out what it is. We'll help you through that. But 99% of the population that has some kind of an issue can train with us. Doesn't matter your age, your gender, whatever your issue is, strength training will help you get better.
Yeah, stronger is better. So that wraps up this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with your friends and family, and even maybe with somebody that you don't like, preferably. Anyways, so on the we'll be back for the next episode, and we'll be talking more about the benefits of strength training. This time, specifically, why more muscle equates to higher metabolism. For now, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.